It's the match preview, and today we're going to be having a look at Luton's first game after pre-season because, as Mark McGuinness said, we are finally ready. Pop that champagne, guys. With me popping the champagne because we're about to embark on our season, it's Mark Ryman. How are we going on, Mark?
Yeah, can't wait for this season to start. Feels like forever, doesn't it? In preparation. Pre-season's been terrible, by the way. Absolutely depressing. Thank God it doesn't count for anything. Yeah, I'm all right. It's now or never. It really is now or never, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. Absolutely pathetic. From the club social media need to read the room. They do. That is like the dumbest caption you can put on something. It's like they're trying to piss off the fan base now.
I think the problem that you're always going to have is that you can't say anything until you can back it up. There's no point. It's easier just not to put anything out at the moment and show it on the pitch because nobody cares. In the nicest possible way, Mark McGuinness or any other player, nobody cares what you have to say at all. Get on the pitch, do your job, perform, win an away match, then you can talk. Until then, shut the up.
Yeah, well, anyway, it's time to recap the last away game. So let's recap. Burnley for Luton Town nil. So, Luton Town lost 4-0 at Burnley, and Cal Naismith got sent off. We did we had the post-match phone-in, and I did my immediate post-match reaction. Links to both are in the description below. Check them out. Yeah, so much to recap here, Ryman.
Yeah, all 18 minutes of it. After that, I don't want to talk. So, look, I still stand by what I said. I don't think it was certainly wasn't the worst performance of the season. I can come away with that and live with it. 4-0's awful, obviously on paper. And if you didn't watch the match, you would be forgiven to thinking it's just like every other away game. And I get the view, but actually I do think that the 10 players on the pitch did okay. Were there mistakes? Yeah, but, you know... we're playing a very, very good side. They have they've got to be up there with the worst team to be against 10 men against a Scott Parker well-drilled side who do not concede. You can't offer anything. You just camped in your own box. I actually thought some positives from it, and I'll just stick with that because we talked the referee performance. We talked the rest. I thought Millie Ali looked good when he came on. I thought Zach Nelson had a half-decent game while he was on the pitch as well. I think Liam Walsh is quickly becoming actually a really integral player in that midfield. Obviously, he got substituted because
Take him off.
Yeah, well, yeah. And there is a legitimate criticism for changing it from a 4-4-1, I guess, in that sense, because that lost all our width. But I do think that, and of course, Mikoso, who in the last few games is now with the first name on the team sheet for me. So regardless of, everything else, there are some positives with those players. I think he's got to be brave and start way more of them in games now. There's no point in this whole experience argument because those players that he's referring to with all the experience have only experienced being absolutely terrible at football for the last... well, God knows how long. It feels like a lifetime, but I'm going to go with a year, 18 months or so. So I think get those players that we bought, get them on the pitch. All at the same time, let's see what we can do.
Yeah, well said. And I don't even want to touch this game. I want to forget it. I was stupidly, more angry about it. I guess it's more about the fact that it's just the same old. Because I felt after Portsmouth, maybe we could kick on, but never mind. Right. Let's have a look at some of the team news ahead of Luton Town's trip to Wales to take on Cardiff. So the team news ahead of this one, Cal Naismith obviously suspended just for this one. He'll be back for Middlesbrough. Reece Burke, interestingly, Matt Bloomfield said There's a whole quote, but I'll just read this bit. We've been speaking about him for a few weeks that I've been telling you, the media, he's nearly there. And I thought he was. I think, if anything, that summarises the Luton Town medical department and the media department. It summarises the medical department where they literally cannot put timeframes on anything. I don't know what they're doing. Like, doing their diagnosis with like a big sledgehammer. It's like, how are you feeling, Reese? Tell me, does this hurt? And just like slam his knee backwards. And with him is his best mate in the physio room, Shannon Baptiste, Tahith Chong, who has, funnily enough, he played a full 90 in Rob Edwards' final game. And Trollope said about him, he had a hamstring injury in the QPR game very late on. He stayed on because it was so late. So I'm not sure how long he's going to be out for, but that was the reason for Chongi missing out. And I'll tell you this as well. So Chong, Mengi, lock it all out. The last starts, Burke was Leeds away, 27th of November. Mengi, 30th of November, Norwich away. Baptiste, 30th of November, Norwich away. And Chong was the 6th of January, QPR away. Those were their last starts.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. And you'd think Bloomfield's probably just thinking at the time, well, at least I've got Cal as backup, and thank goodness Christ Makosso's doing so well, so no one will be asking about Burke. And then, of course, Cal gets himself sent off, and all of a sudden it puts it in the spotlight. I think he said he's on the bench at best, which means we won't be seeing him in the squad, will we? So, it's ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. The strength conditioning, fitness, the doctors, whoever it is, I mean, good God. We thought last season was bad with Nakamba. I mean, he's still injured from last season, I think. It's ridiculous. And just keeping players on. At all times. We did it with Doughty as well, of course, didn't we? In the reverse of this game, I think. Was it Cardiff?
Made it worse, yeah. I think it was Cardiff, yeah. And he stayed on, kept running around because we had to protect the lead.
Why not? Broken ankle, no problem.
And it kept him out for 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy decisions. But, I mean, I think regardless, the defence we know who it's going to be. It's going to be a back five because Bloomfield said it's going to be a back five. I don't think we imagine it's going to be anything different from that. Christmas Costo has got to start. McGuinness is clearly going to start against his old side, and Bell's going to start on the left-hand side. You know, I know that I think you pointed the finger at Bell for 2 or 3 of the goals. I think it's slightly harsh.
I pointed the finger at Bell for all 4 goals.
That's right. Yeah, well, that's really harsh then. I don't agree with that one. But he hasn't been the same player this season. I think we'll both agree with that. The biggest concern, of course, is that we're missing Cal. You know, that's clearly it. That's where we needed our leadership. I'd be tempted to put McGuinness as captain. I really would. Playing against his old club, not much to lose. Clark is not a captain for me. Morris certainly isn't a captain. God, don't give it to Kaminsky, for Christ's sake. So I think give it to Mark McGuinness and see how he gets on with a point to prove. Who knows? It might bring the best out of him. I actually think Mark McGuinness has really started to improve in the last few games before he's been out. I know the own goal won't have helped his confidence much. So yeah, back 5 for me. And as I said earlier, stick the youngsters on. I like Zach Nelson in there, maybe. Yeah, I'll get him in. I'll get Walsh in.
Ali? Would you put Ali up top?
Well,
and Morris is going to start, right?
If you want. I don't see why, though. I'm not being silly. I don't see why. I actually think Eli did a better job as a single person up front in the last game. He was never going to score, but let's be honest. I mean, no one was ever going to score in that game. I would like to see Ali up there. I thought he created the only half-decent chance of the game. Morris probably will start, but I wouldn't mind if he didn't. I wouldn't mind seeing Nordas or even Brown up there. Obviously, it would change the way we play if we put both of those there. So it'll probably be Nordas or Morris. But let's be honest, no one's putting it in the back of the net for us at the moment. So who knows?
Well, no one has put it in the back of the net yet. But as McGuinness said, our season...
Well, that's true.
They are ready.
Warming up.
Prepare yourself, yeah. They're just giving everyone else a head start. Let's put it that way.
It's a big head start.
Yeah, it's a big head start. But watch out, Leeds. We're coming for you. Right. Now it's time to kick it over to Phil. He met with the opposition for their view ahead of the game. Take it away, Phil.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Ollie, and thank you, Mark, for the handover. It was really, really good to hear you guys on the phone in as well the other day. Thoroughly enjoyed that. It was also quite good fun for me to be able to troll Ollie a little bit and speak about how he likes to do his Alan Partridge impression. Needless to say, I had the last laugh. Hey, Ollie. But you can't blame him, as much as many people will try. Anyway, on to my part. I am going to speak to Thomas Taylor today. He's a Cardiff fan. Spoke to him earlier on in the season and thoroughly looking forward to speaking to him about how he perceives the game to go. It's Monday night, so it will be tomorrow night that we'll be playing over at Cardiff. It's difficult to understate just how massive of a game this is in the context of the season. A lot of Luton fans that I know, including myself, feel like the situation is done and that League One beckons. I think that's largely based on actually watching us this season versus hope and optimism. But when you look at the table and you listen to other people and they sort of say, well, you win, you're only 2 points behind and you're still back in it. So it is one of those ones where I want to be hopeful. I want to get Luton to stay in this league. I desperately want us to stay in this league. But truth be told, I'm not filled with hope. We'll see. Anyway, let's get on to what Thomas has to say from Cardiff City. So everyone, as promised, I've got Thomas here. He's the massive Cardiff City fan, as you can see from his wonderful kit that he's wearing there. Thomas, first things first, give people an idea about where they can follow you on various different social medias and get a bit of an insight to Cardiff City from your perspective.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Thomas Taylor 4. I'm usually posting a lot about Cardiff on there, a lot about other stuff like football and other sport in general, really. And my Instagram handle's the same. If you want to go over there, less about football over there, just on some stories sometimes. But yeah, Twitter's the main place where you can find my kind of content. And the link to my blog is in my Twitter bio there.
Lovely stuff. Thank you, Tom. Yeah, it's one of those ones where Twitter is the main one. You're doing very well to still be on there because there's a lot of people that have become quite frustrated with Twitter. It's a bit of a hateful place at times. So this will be being broadcast mainly on YouTube and retweeted by myself and the OK Football Show. But so Tom, the first thing I'm going to do is get a little bit of an insight for you because I could wax lyrical about various different stats. I could tell you about the last 5 matches, this, that, or the other. But I think that Luton fans, as well as your own fans, will probably be quite intrigued to gain a little bit of insight from you about how the season's gone. Obviously, without trying to sort of steal your thunder and put words in your mouth, it's been a difficult season as it has for Luton Town. I'm sure that you had aspirations of being nowhere near the sort of dreaded dotted line, as close as you are. Is there anything that you can sort of pinpoint as to why you're in the situation you're in, and what are your thoughts generally on the season so far?
I just think instability is the big word when it comes to Cardiff this year, and just doing things at the wrong time. And so we cast our mind backs to when Errol Bullock first got the boot. It was maybe a little bit too late. If he'd gone a little bit earlier, I get why we didn't sack him the week before we did, because his last game was a home fixture against Leeds, and it was kind of the Sol Bamba tribute one. It was our first home game since Solid passed, so I totally understand why we didn't do it before that. But when Omariza came in, it was, funny enough, up until Luton, we had that really good initial run.
Yeah.
I think before we spoke last time, we just come off the back of a 2-1 win against Norwich at home, which nobody really expected. We had some good results in there, 0-0 draw. We might have been 1-1 away at West Brom. And that would have been the perfect time to have given Reza the job. But the board didn't. They kind of just sat about and twiddled their thumbs a bit. and then that sort of instability, that sort of loss of confidence a little bit kind of sets in. We then end up on a bad run, and the board decide to give him the job then, which again was just wrong time to do it if we were going to do it. But it's been kind of the story of a lot of teams in the bottom half of the division this year, where we go on runs for a bit where we look okay, we play some decent football, and we think that's it, that's us out of relegation now, we're good, we're safe. And it only takes 2 games. A week's a long time in the Championship, and especially when you're trying to stay up. You only need those 1 or 2 bad results, and then you're dragged straight back into it again. And inconsistency's just been the inconsistency and the instability has kind of been the buzzwords of the season so far from a Cardiff perspective.
Yeah, it sounds very familiar, my friend. Sounds very, very familiar. I think especially when you the bit about Bullet sort of really resonated, because as much as it was a controversial thing from Luton's perspective, I feel like Rob Edwards outstayed his I wouldn't say he outstayed his welcome, but I would say that he knew his time was up way before it actually came, which put us into an unstable position. So it's interesting, and I think that you're right to draw parallels to some of the other teams at the bottom of the league there, and your situation has been slightly different in terms of the fact that Omar Rizza was in place, but like as an interim coach for quite some time. And like I say, I really like the terminology that you use about that situation. But a lot of other teams have had a bit of a bounce. They've like the likes of people like Plymouth. They had an initial bounce. It seems to be sort of mellowing out a little bit again. But there's a few teams that have pushed on and done things. And I guess in terms of this week for you, that you mentioned about the importance of weeks, Tom. And how games go, and obviously I feel like you could land a knockout blow tomorrow. I feel like if you've got Luton losing tomorrow and you're able to pull away and make it, I think it'll be an 8-point gap. You would like to think that Luton probably aren't going to outscore you by a point a game for the rest of the season. I just don't simply see that happening. There's a reason why Luton Town are in that sort of situation. So is that the vibe as you guys see it? Because obviously I'm looking through very much Luton Town orange-coloured spectacles, really. But is that how you see it? Is it a case of trying to land an important knockout blow on a direct rival? It's a 6-pointer personified, isn't it?
Yeah, it's once again we're going into another game where we're saying it's the biggest game of the season, and I'm sure we're going to do it again in 2 weeks' time when we have to play Stoke at home, and we'll probably say the same for Oxford United as well. Yeah, it's massive. I don't think we can really overestimate how important it is. I'm not too sure that I think it's a if we win it we're safe sort of deal, even though they'd be like that sort of 8-point gap to Luton there. I'm still not overly confident that would be us 100% safe. If I had to say today, if I think we're staying up, I think we are just. But there's 3 very big hurdles to come, and it's tomorrow night and then the 2 other fixtures I mentioned. Yeah. But it would be a step in the right direction. If we lose, it just doesn't bear thinking about for both sides really. But it just makes things just so much more uncomfortable at the bottom, and I don't rule out just one of those teams just going on a bit of a run towards the end as well. Like, I don't know who it's going to be yet. It might be Luton, but just somebody I feel is going to get good at the right time and kind of get out of it after, everyone kind of thought they might have been dead to rights for a bit. So it's a relegation 9-pointer, if such a thing could exist. Really, it's kind of the vibe around the fan base at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned the games that you mentioned, because obviously the sort of ace up the sleeve of Cardiff is that you're at home. You're at home to us under the lights. You're at home again, like you said, to Stoke on the 12th of April. That's a massive, massive game. And then you'd like to think that you get 3 points over the line at home against Oxford. So home advantage it's one of those things where I've just seen it as a theme in the league throughout the course of the entire season, is that home form is absolutely pivotal. And I don't know, maybe I'm looking too far into it, Tom, but I thought it was quite interesting that you picked up those. I thought that you might have been talking about your next 2 or 3 fixtures, but you're not. You're looking quite far ahead, trying to pick out where those points are coming from.
Yeah.
And it is one of those ones where I think, again, as looking through my own sort of lens, is that this is one of the games where we're playing a direct rival, but we're away. We've got to play you away. We've got to play Hull away. You know, we've got some really difficult sort of remaining fixtures, coupled with playing the likes of Leeds and playing some teams from sort of the upper echelons of the league as well. So that's why it's quite tough for me to be particularly positive. So I hope that I'm giving you a little bit of confidence there. We're going to be without Cal Naismith tomorrow. He got a rather stupid two yellow cards at the weekend. As for Cardiff, what are you thinking that the lineup's going to be? Are you thinking that it's going to be very similar to that which you saw succumb to Sunderland at the weekend, or do you foresee changes? Is there any injuries or any suspensions that you're expecting to play a part?
It's so hard to see. I've noticed kind of over the last sort of month or so how much Omariza likes to chop and change teams, for better or for worse. So it's hard to think of a time where we've fielded the same 11 for consistent games. So it makes it really hard to kind of predict things like that.
Yeah.
So I imagine they would probably look a bit more similar, to the team that played Burnley. But there's a few like definites, like they're going to play. I mean, Gutas is definitely going to start. I think you'd be mad to drop Yusuf Salic, especially with the run he's been on as of late. And I still think Callum O'Dowda, he's been in a club that the word of the season's been inconsistent. He's the one, he's been Mr. Consistent the whole way through, regardless of where he's at to play. When he's been at left back, he defends so well, but he can get forward really well as well. He was a natural winger, really, where he kind of plays that sort of left side of the defence role really well. So it's quite hard to see, to be honest. And we chop and change in defence quite a bit, which is a little bit worrying to me, especially at the part of the season that we're in now. I think Gutas has had about 4 or 5 different centre-back partners this year, which isn't great. I'd like to think that Jesper Darland would be starting alongside him, but he's been out injured for quite a while now, and I don't think he's coming back in time for tomorrow. So yeah, it's quite tricky to see, but I'd like to think that we kind of go with a bit more of an attacking team, because I think generally that's when we play our best football, is when we're kind of, not nervous and try and go at teams. I think that's when we hurt them the most, but it's such a hard one to call, really. It was just how kind of different the teams have been, and how much they've changed throughout this season.
It's interesting because I was just, like I say, you could probably see my eyes darting off a little bit, and I was just looking at your sort of results, and as much as I said I wouldn't allude to them too much, it's one of those ones where, we were talking about parallels earlier on with some of the teams at the bottom. One of the big parallels we've got is that you enjoyed a home day win against your arch rivals 3-0, which is the only bit of glory that Luton Town fans can cling to this year. And I think that at the time when you played Swansea, that was not necessarily what you were expecting, but that was like a really good run. You had a good run from sort of like late December all the way through to January, picked up a lot of points and didn't lose. So yeah, it's one of those ones where, as much as that might seem like a bit of a tangent, I thought it was only fair to put a smile on your face, Tom, and for me to be able to wax lyrical about the fact that we actually won a game earlier on the season against a local rival. But it draws me to my last question for you, Tom. And as much as we've just spoken about like what you expect the team lineup to be, how do you actually perceive the game going, and could you give us a score prediction?
I think it's going to be really, really edgy. I think it's going to be quite nervy. I think it's going to be quite a nervous atmosphere from kind of both sets of supporters as well. I really like to think that we're just going to go out and try and play sort of reasonable at its best. Like when we went on that first initial really great run, the football we were playing was, we were passing it quick, we were getting bodies forward, we were kind of just letting players play to their own strengths. and elements of that kind of die out throughout the season. But in the game, so like it happened for a while against Sunderland, it happened for a lot of the time against Burnley. We can really harm teams, and when we show up and just attack really. So I think I'd like to think we'll get that kind of performance, because if we kind of want to get a result and almost maybe make a bit of a statement to the rest of the clubs in the relegation battle, we're sort of not here to stick around in this sort of thing. I'd like to think that we'll go quite positive. Whether it pans out like that is quite hard to tell, as is just supporting Cardiff this year. It's hard to predict how anything's going to go.
Preach.
Yeah.
Preach to the choir there.
I'm preaching to converted. So I think we will get a win, just because of how big the occasion has to be for us, or how big the occasion is. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be a similar sort of game to when we played Hull at home a few weeks ago, and go the same scoreline. I think it's going to be 1-0 Cardiff, and I'll go with Ruben Colwill to score.
Colwill, yeah, I like that. I like the fact you're giving me a goal score as well. Confidence, Tom. So, it's one of those ones where I wouldn't be surprised. I can see it being quite attritional. I can't see it being a 4-3 or a 3-2 or something like that. I feel like it's going to be one way or the other, because goals aren't easy to come by. You know what it's like being at this end of the table. It's really difficult. Just to give you a bit of a heads up from our point of view, like I say, our away record is absolutely filth. It's atrocious. So it's going to be one of those ones where if it turns into a battle, I think that'll be the only way that Luton are going to potentially overturn you. I think if you come out and play good football against us, that we're probably there right for the picking. To be honest with you, it'll be interesting. Like I say, we'll be low on confidence after getting our backsides handed to us at Burnley. And whilst it's Burnley, the point is it's the manner of which things happen. So it's a real tough time for us at the minute. And all I will say is that it's a chance. It's a chance, and I think it might be a little bit of a last chance saloon for Luton Town. But ultimately, I'm very, very grateful to have had you on with me, Tom. Thank you so much for giving me your time. I know it's a midweek double game week as well, so it's difficult to get the time of everyone. And I'm very, very grateful. And thank you so much for joining us.
Perfect. Thank you.
Cheers, Tom. So everyone, that was Tom Taylor. As you saw, he's predicted a 1-0 win for Cardiff. It's kind of hard to disagree with it. It's one of those ones where we find it very, very difficult to score on the road, and I think that it's going to be quite an attritional, difficult game. What I will say, though, through a hopeful lens, is that last time we were involved in a battle, we came out 1-0 winners against Pompey. So we do know how to battle. I think if you look at some of our victories, we can battle given the right circumstances. It's just a case of, sounds awful, but hoping that the opposition don't play particularly good football against us, because if it becomes a battle, we stand a chance because of the way that we play. But if they decide to play some football against us, it could be a long evening. So we'll keep on hoping until the very end. We'll keep on hoping. But for now, I'm going to kick it back to Ollie and Mark. And as always, come on, you atters. And worst comes to worst, I'll see you on the concourse on Saturday. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Phil. Appreciate it, mate. Right, so who is giving you sleepless nights, Ryman?
I mean, no one, because I've accepted our fate. So I'm not having sleepless nights about Luton anymore. It's lovely. But if I was to be worried about one player, and only one player, it'd probably be Ruben Colwill. We know what he can do. Young player playing on the left-hand side, can create, can dictate play, goals and assists as well. A little bit streaky, as we saw in the home leg as well. Had a good game by all accounts against Sunderland in their last game. So yeah, Colwill for me is a very big concern on that left hand side, and I quite liked Zach Nelson and Isaiah Jones over on the right, but neither of them are defenders. That's going to be a concern.
Yeah. Colwill is a tremendous footballer. He gets tired very quickly, though, because he does put in an almighty shift. He's one I would have picked out. Callum Robinson, so he's third in the goal-scoring charts this season. And he actually said in Champ Chat no number nines run away with it this season. So there are two players, Pirro and Borja Sainz, both on 15. Callum Robinson on 12 goals. But thinking about it a bit more, I'm actually worried about Yusuf Selah. They signed him in January. He's been quite prolific in front of goal. He's Danish. He's young. He's fast. He's started 4 games, scored 4 goals for a total of 5 goals in 12 games. Obviously, a lot of games off the bench, and worried about him against our defence. He could run us ragged, and now Callum Robinson has gone behind him in sort of the 10 role, so he runs from deeper. But yeah, imagine having a prolific striker.
Yeah, I mean, my one ray of hope is that we're playing against our old friend Ethan Horvath, and
he's been on fire.
Get it on target. Well, I think on fire is contextual. I don't think he's had. I don't think he's necessarily had the best of seasons overall. He's obviously earned his place back, so good for him there. But we know what he's capable of, don't we? So yeah, just get some shots on target. That'd be nice, just generally, actually. See how we get on. But yeah, you're right, those front two. And it would be interesting, you mentioned people like Perot. I mean, I wonder what the chances have been created for Perot as kind of XG compared to Robinson playing for Cardiff. Because I imagine those two stats are very different as well. So fair play to Callum Robinson for that.
Fair play indeed. He's one that I really didn't rate very highly, but, he's making lemonade while the lemons are there on the floor of the lemon tree. I probably butchered that that cliche.
Some unnecessary detail, but I think we get the picture. Yeah.
He's doing it. He's doing the business. He's putting the ball in the onion bag. Right. Now it's time for some score predictions.
Right, so I've gone for a optimistic, borderline delusional. Mind you, if you think mine's delusional, wait for Ollie's. I've gone for a 2-1 Luton win. Now, I did say, actually, in our post-match, check the description for the link and have a listen from the Burnley game, that I thought we'd take the lead and lose, which is probably far more likely. We just cannot hold on to leads. But having said that, there's a little bit of me that thinks that we could do something here. It's my last bit of hope, really. If we lose this game, we're down. If we win it, I actually think that we stand a far greater chance of staying up than we do going down. I think it's that big. Chances are we'll lose or draw, but I've gone for a 2-1 win. I want to manifest it into reality. So a 2-1 win for me, for Luton.
Yeah. Well, you heard the man, Mark McGuinness. The season starts now. And for that reason, I have predicted Cardiff 1, Luton 5. And I'm going to put a bet on it. Because I believe in this team. I believe in Gary Sweet. I believe the children are our future. I believe that
you can fly.
Town,
it's about as much.
I believe I can fly.
Oh, wait a minute!
Honestly,
don't be singing that song. Sorry, that
oh yeah,
cancelled for singing that, mate.
Oh.
Whoa.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know why I've come up with 5-1. I just think you just got to have a bit of fun at this point because the season's terrible. And
football life is terrible.
It really is. Nothing's working. And to be honest, it's the players. I've said it a lot. The players are an embarrassment. The board were an embarrassment by not getting rid of Rob Edwards when they needed to get rid of him. The writing was on the wall for 3 months before he was exited, and I'm just having a bit of fun with it. That's it. Yeah.
Well, if it comes in, as I said in our championship predictions, you have to do something. I'm sorry. So again, in the description, people, what does he need to do? If that score comes in, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I'll see what the odds are on it. It's never going to happen.
It's going to be long.
I'm happy to do a forfeit if that's the case. Yeah. But that's us done for this week. I hate these midweek games. They're not a lot of fun to.
We hate all games at the moment. We're Luton
I
Town
know.
fans. It's
know.
even hard when we win. I didn't even enjoy that. It was bloody horrible.
It's the inevitable of knowing that it's just all going to go to pot again. Like after that win.
Yeah.
I can't back up anything. But yeah, that's us done. And remember, hit that subscribe button. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you think I'm crazy with the 5-1, tell me what you think. And everyone, take care. Have a great week. Well, yeah, until Luton play tomorrow. And as always, come on, you Hatters.